Okay, hello group. This is week 3 questions. So I chose for chapter 2, my two questions were the 4 purposes of nonverbal communication. I'll do that one first. So the 4 purposes are 1, to express emotion. Obviously, crying would be, an expression of emotion, but there's, other emotions as well. I thought of one of the easiest ones, anger, to see. So a person is usually like kind of tight and rigid. Their face is kind of, tight. They might squint their eyes, clench their jaws, fists clenched, and, just kind of like their mouth kind of kind of that. And then I guess that's the example too. So, and then the next purpose of nonverbal communication is to convey interpersonal attitudes. So when I'm listening and the message is like maybe surprising, I will show that in my face. Like my eyes might get like, oh my gosh, wide like that. I will lean forward if I'm trying to like, what is happening? So I'm seeing even on my face that surprise. You can see it. It's amazing. Maybe you're surprised and you're just like, oh my gosh, you lean back, something like that. You focus in on the speaker to like catch everything they're saying as you're processing in your head. Sometimes no words come to mind because you're just like so shocked or amazed. So you might not be giving verbal responses to what they're saying, just like the look on your face says like, what? Oh my word. Okay, so 3 is the third purpose for nonverbal communication is to present your own personality. So by the way that, it's your character, your disposition, or your temperament. And it can be shown by the way you carry yourself, or how expressive you are, or how relaxed or approachable you are, or the opposite, not approachable. You're kind of stiff, reserved. Recently I had a conversation with someone I know just kind of well, not like super well, but she mentioned that she's helping with the drama club at school. She's a parent, and I said, that doesn't surprise me about you, and that's just because the way she carries herself when she greets people, she's very expressive with her body, and so that she's helping with drama or has an interest in drama seemed to fit with her personality without knowing even a lot about her. So then the fourth purpose of nonverbal communication is to accompany our verbal communication. So it can kind of repeat what we are saying by the way we are nonverbally communicating. It can complement it, substitute it, amplify it, or tone it down. So if you even, sometimes you might have a really hard message to bring someone, but you're not wanting them to kind of react to it, so you might like tone it down. Like, have you ever done that with if someone's got a spider crawling on their shoulder? I did this to somebody, and I'm like, I tried to be as calm as possible. Okay, so take a look at your shoulder. Don't worry, don't freak out, but you might want to just brush off the thing on there or something like that. So especially if that they're afraid of spiders or whatever. So you can kind of counteract what you're saying with like be calm or whatever. I thought also of the example, I've been married a long time, so I know, my husband's nonverbal communication, as I'm sure he knows mine as well. But there are times when, like, I might not respond to him in a very kind or gentle way, and he gets, mad. I can tell he's mad, but I'll say, "Are you mad?" And he'll say, "No, I'm not mad," but everything, from his nonverbal is telling me that he's Okay, moving on. So then the next one, discuss 3 codes of nonverbal communication and how they interact with your verbal communication. So one of the codes is vocalics, which is our vocal expression. So it's our voice. It can reveal our emotions, our thoughts, even the relationships we have with other people. Recently, I was helping out at my daughter. She's 10. I was helping out at her school, and I haven't done it a lot, so I was kind of new there to like people seeing me or whatever. Her friends, I don't know them very well. And she said to me later, Mom, your voice was so different at school. When you're with us, your voice is like low. She said like low and slow. And obviously it was not low and slow at school. So meeting new people that I didn't know, my voice was higher. I probably was talking higher, and you're like, oh yeah, da da da, whatever. That's vocalics. So then also space, another code of nonverbal communication and how we interact would be it's called proxemics, or like the space we have from person to person, or maybe even in a room, like you feel uncomfortable in a crowded room or you feel comfortable in a crowded room. To create and use space and distance, to protect yourself or to be close to other people, whichever. Everyone has kind of like their own personal zone. We noticed, so my husband and I traveled overseas. We lived for a while in Eastern Europe. And so their proxemics, what they're comfortable with, is way different than it is here. I remember, traveling on a train, overnight train by myself, and I was literally sleeping, inches away from a total stranger, and it was just the weirdest thing. It was just so weird to me that I'm like sleeping like next to this person, basically. Or in restaurant, like McDonald's, we would go there a lot with our kids, and it's crowded and people will just sit down at the same table with you. And like at first that was just really weird for us, but for them there's no other place to sit. You've got 2 extra seats. We're going to sit here with you. I don't even know. I don't think they ask, or, just kind of a nod or whatever. So then the other one is environment, the third. It's your surroundings, whether they're natural or in a building or a room. The architecture, the design, the color, the lighting, the smell, seating, temperature, cleanliness, orderliness even, are all kind of a code of nonverbal, and how you feel, how it kind of relates to how people interact with each other are affected by those things. I know personally I'm sensitive to my environment, like a sense of calm if it's orderly and clean. I don't feel stressed as much as if it's not. And also like lighting. I work in one office that has absolutely no windows at all. And I avoid going to that office. I don't like to be there, and I know it's because there's no natural light. It drives me crazy. And I don't know how the people can handle that, but they do. Okay, so then from chapter 3, I chose 2 questions. One is differentiate between listening and hearing. How are they similar? How are they different? And how are they often confused? So, of course, hearing is really just taking in the audible sounds, what you're hearing, not without understanding it or interpreting it or thinking about it, really. A lot of times, I say to my kids, I hear you. Yes, I hear you. I might not be listening like usually, or not usually, but often I'm not listening. My mind is 1,000 miles away, but mom, yes, I hear you, so that's hearing, not listening. Listening involves thinking about the message, deciphering the meaning of the message. Good listening involves reviewing and summarizing in your head what the message is, what you're taking from it. A good listener will pay attention to not only what's being talked or spoken, but also the nonverbals that the person has They will weigh the evidence of what's being said. They're not just thinking about how they're going to answer, but they're listening to what that person is trying to communicate. So we use those words often interchangeably. I'm listening or I'm hearing you, when they really should be used more specifically. They're worlds apart, obviously. A lot of times we hear a lot of things, obviously, but we're listening very little of the time. My kids will ask me a question and I will answer them, and then 5 minutes later they ask me the same question because they were not listening for my answer. Like, they're not expecting me to answer, probably because, like I said before, usually I'm not paying attention. And so they have to ask and ask and ask maybe before I, like, oh, you're asking me a question. But when I do actually listen and answer, and then it's the same, right? Like, then they ask me again, I just answered you. No, you didn't, or I didn't hear you. Well, you probably heard me because your hearing is good, but you weren't listening for the answer. Okay, the other one were the 4 listening styles, and what is my preference. So the 4 listening styles are people-oriented, which is where you are a person who's kind of really tuned in to what the other person is saying, like, and who they are and what they're trying to communicate to you. You care about making sure they know you're listening, or you're thoughtful of the message that you're sharing. You're really sort of like a caring person or empathetic person or whatever. Then there's action oriented, so direct, concise, exact, goal focused. It's kind of hard to have a conversation, I think, with someone who is action oriented, because it's like yes, no, yes or no answers, and their questions back to you might be yes or no questions. So, yeah, how was your day? Good. But then there's nothing more to it, and it's so maybe not hard to talk to a person like that, but hard to get to know them, and hard to kind of engage in a comfortable conversation when it's like let's get to the point and move on. Then there's content oriented. So this is a person who is really interested in talking about the issues, talking it through. They have a lot of things to say. Maybe they have complex information that they want to share. They may think a lot. For being a listener, they might think a lot before they answer. Like, they want to be sure that they understand and they've processed the full information. And sometimes, if you don't have similar interests, it might be hard to, again, gosh, everyone's hard to converse with, but it might be hard to converse with these kind of people because they kind of go on about their thing. And if it's not your thing, you're kind of like, well, okay, or whatever. So maybe I'm not a good listener because I have a hard time listening to these kinds of things, but that's okay. That's why I'm learning. Time-oriented person, they are brief. Their communication is concise, to the point. They want to know, how long is this conversation going to take, because, I want to get it in, get it done, and move on. It's kind of like I thought of, when I have information to give, like my teenage sons. I know that I need to come to them with the fewest amount of words in the shortest amount of time, or they're just like, they're gone. So it's like, okay, here's what we're doing today, but it better be like few words and get to the point and move on, because they don't want to chit chat. So, and I talk to people like that in my job, and they're hard people, again, to talk to, because I feel like I need to be like on it, like, okay, this, have a nice day. Thank you for your time. So I am a people-oriented person, so maybe that's why I struggle with the others. I don't know, but I do have like a lot of concern that the person knows I'm listening, and anyway, that description really resonated with me. So that was all, and I think I did all of the questions, and look forward to hearing your guys's. Thanks. Bye.